afternoon. Just going to go through all of our checks. Apologies for being slow out of the blocks today. I will explain once I've gone through the checks. It's the let's just have a little look here. Just going to check my sounds. There, right, we're on. Yeah, yeah. Basically, it's the wonders of computers. Quite a familiar story, unfortunately. What I do is I turn this computer I mainly use for the live streaming, and I turn it on to check everything probably about an hour and a half before I go live. And there was an update, so I updated it and then set everything up, and then it decided that it wanted to do another update. So hence the slow start to today. Getting straight into it then, apologies for the late start. Getting straight into it, as you can see, I've got this marked out. It's almost like a little bit of a coaster. Normally I do a round coaster, but I got some extra wood, so I thought I may as well use it. There's no point in throwing it away for the sake of throwing it away. And yeah, it's line art basically is going to be the theme of this one here. You can see we've got a cat marked out ready to go. So we're going to start on the scroll saw. I'll then go across to the workbench to finish it off, and we'll see how everything goes, basically. I might get a chance as well. If I get time, I'll be doing some carving as well. But this idea, this design as well, I'll explain from the outset, is available for anybody to use. This particular line art design is one that I drew out, and I've left it available on our website. So if you want to have a go at making this or using that design, you're more than welcome. Print it off, adapt it, use it, do what you want with it, and yeah, take it from the website. So to explain the process for anyone who's starting off when it comes to scroll sawing, this is line art. So what you've got to do is you cut out parts of the design, but you're not completely cutting out the full line, otherwise you'd end up with a big hole there. And so we'll use these holes to feed the blade into. We'll cut out that line art to give us the impression of the cats, and then a little bit around the outside. And then I got another a little what should I call it? A little sort of secret that we use, little trick, little methods that we use that may be useful to add extra interest to the design. So let's get into it. I'll just check if I missed any comments. Yes, I have. Sawyer Rob, it's Monday, so here I am. There we go, the carver and Sawyer Rob. Thank you for joining us, and hopefully this will be an interesting demo. My back is to the computer, so if I do miss comments, I do apologise. I'll explain a few things as well, hopefully, as I go along, but let's get straight into it. Let's get cutting. there we are. We're going to pause for a second. We're making some good progress there. Have I missed anything? Oh, we've got Michael. Good to have you with us. It probably isn't morning where you are. Absolutely. Yeah, you're right. The carver's got it right. About 3 o'clock and 10 a.m. where you are. There we are. Thank you all for joining us. Now then, as you can see, we're making some good progress on the face of our cat. And this is one of the things why I love line art then, because you can just create all sorts of different things. Always worth turning it over, just check how it's all looking on the back as well. Is it coming out okay on the back? Pretty happy with that. Little bit of touching up. What tends to happen is that the back of the 3 panels doesn't always come out as perfectly as you would hope. Well, I'm not saying it's coming out perfectly on the front, but it usually comes out best on that top layer. Some of the little things then, when using line art that we do, or that I do my best to conceal where the drill holes have gone. Don't always get it absolutely perfect, but that's one thing I try to do, is to just conceal where you have drilled that pilot hole. The other thing then is, when it comes to scroll saws, I know there are all sorts of entry-level machines, and if you're doing it as a bit of a hobby, you're getting into it, then they'll do the job just fine. But one thing I always sort of suggest to look out for when it comes to scroll sawing then is pinless blades. And the reason that I recommend it, I just think you've got more options available to you. And again, get it in the comment section, because I'd be interested to know what others think on this, because a big part of what we do, we try to help anybody who's watching our videos. We try to help others, but we're always open to other opinions, other ideas, because we're all learning ourselves. But I prefer the pinless blades because I always think you've got more options available to you. And also, when it comes to doing a project like this, you can do really fine drill holes. So for line art, this is something I really think the pinless blades have a definite advantage over the pin blades. If I was doing this same project using a pin blade, I would make the whole design bigger, and it would take me longer to cut it out because I would need bigger drill holes to fit that pin through and to be able to do the cutting out. So it would take longer as well with it. But again, get it in the comment section, share any thoughts. We're quite open to different views. There we are. Right, I will continue cutting out. So we're going to cut out these lines here. And then you can see we've got those 4, but I'll probably cut the outline of our cat and then pause again, just in case any ideas come into my head that might be able to possibly help. Okay, so that cuts out our profile of our cat in the centre. I'm going to check the comments, 2 seconds. I don't have any thoughts on pin versus no pin. Prior to buying my Hegner, I did it all with a coping saw. I started scrolling 3 years ago. Before that, I was in high school back in the 1960s. I bought a small hobby saw for balsa aeroplanes. A lot has changed. Absolutely, yeah. It has indeed, but I mean, in essence, you know, it's largely similar. We used to have a scroll saw here, and you got like we got it upstairs. We'll have to dig it out. I'll have to ask Dad if he can find it. And it's got the foot pedal, but you got to have a kick. You'd end up with a kick on you like a professional footballer because you've got to control it all with your foot. So yeah, quite demanding. A few things as well came into my mind just as I started cutting out again. One of the things you'll notice when it comes to line art, one thing is where I've drilled the holes. So if you can drill them at junctions. So basically where things join. So we got one drill hole there. You'll have to excuse the telephone in the background. I'm not stopping for that one there, and there's nobody about at the moment, so I will leave that one for now, and I will get back to them. So yeah, where you've got junctions just in there, and in there, that is where, you know, different parts, there's a join in that line art, and if you drill the hole right in that junction, it can it helps to conceal where that hole is. So that is a little method then, a little technique that we're using, is to conceal it. Other things then we're using a method that I use a lot now, and that is stack cutting. Excuse me. The way I stack cut, I use super glue. So I super glue the layers together. I use Starbond CA glue. You'll see there's a link in a lot of the videos that we've done where if you do buy their super glues, use that link because they'll give you 10% off. So it'll save you 10% on your order. So yeah, that's there for anybody to use. You're welcome to use it. And I just stack them together. I've used other methods as well. I've used sellotape, you know, like packaging tape, that sort of thing. And I've also used screws. So I've screwed it together. Whatever method you use, give it a go. I find that our blades, that Nikwa Speed number 9 reverse swift blade, it can basically handle another layer stacked on top of this. That's about the limit for it. This one is mahogany, and I generally find that mahoganies, they scroll saw very well, depending on the mahogany, but most of what we've got in terms of mahogany scroll saw well. It doesn't burn very often. I've got a blade that is slightly worn, so it wouldn't surprise me if it snapped during the demonstration. So if it does, we just change it. But I felt that it was cutting well and it had a bit of life left in it. So yeah, we will continue. We've got those 4 little pieces to cut out. And then we're just going to cut around the surround. Before I get started though, I will check those comments. See if you missed anything. No, we're up to date with it all then. Any thoughts though? Any ideas? Let me know. And yeah, we'll have a little look at it. Right, so it's mask back on. Again, anyone learning scroll sawing, safety is an issue that you've got to be well aware of. So we have the visor to protect the eyes from a broken blade, the mask for the dust, and the ear defenders for the noise. Great. There we are. So we've got all of that inside work done. We're just going to be finishing off with cutting that outline of the coaster when it comes to making our square coaster. But we're going to have, we got those there. I've added a little bit of pierce work just so there'll be a little bit of light coming through the design once it's completed. Some of the different things, I think I've missed a comment, which I will check. Let's have a little look. Hello there, buenos dias. ¿Cómo estás? Thank you for joining us. Yeah, we're, well, I now have DeWalt's, but that Hegner is pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, there's different designs they do. I know DeWalt's have got like a new design, the scroll saw, where there's more sort of pivot points and things like that. And it's a popular scroll saw. Does a great job. This one here, the Hegner, it's that old school where you've got those two pivots, the top arm and the bottom arm, and it's quite a sort of simple. It's a very sort of simple design. But yeah, DeWalt do some great scroll saws. Excuse me. It's worth noting as well in terms of technique. Now, there's all sorts of different methods. You basically, what I'm trying to say with this one, when you're scroll sawing, the same as when you're carving, the same as when you do anything, being comfortable and being happy with where you are is really important. So for instance, you might notice with me, my head, no, because of the camera position, it's not coming into shot. But if I zoom the camera out, which I can just do, let's just zoom that camera out for you. Here we are. If I bring that back, you may see, I'm actually quite close to, so my head, I'm quite close to that scroll saw. So that's why for me, the visor is really important. That's basically where I feel most comfortable and most happy when I'm scroll sawing, is I really like to get close so I can really see the best I possibly can. So when I'm scroll sawing, that's my preference, is to be a bit sort of up close and personal. I don't know. I'll just check to see if I am in shot when I'm explaining that. Yeah, I should be. So yeah, so I'm quite close to that scroll saw basically. Dad, he uses a higher chair. He's further away from it. And that's where he's most comfortable. So he likes to look more down on what he's scroll sawing. And he likes to have a bit more distance away from him. There's other things then. My brother Matt then, for instance, he likes to use, there's an accessory with this one. It's an arm and it holds the piece down. So he likes to not clamp it, because we're always using that technique of clamping it with one hand and guiding it with the other hand. He doesn't like that so much. He prefers to have something, because his feed speed is a fraction faster. He prefers to have something holding it for him so he can cut more naturally. Others I've seen, they use accessories like they'll use a magnifying glass. So you've got that magnifying glass, and that's fantastic. If if you're doing really fine detail, that magnifying glass, you're really getting a fantastic view of what you're doing. Basically, what I'm saying to you is to try different things, try different positions, try being closer to the machine, further away from the machine, find what works for you as an individual best. That's what I'm basically getting at. So what I'll do, I'll bring that, I'll refocus that camera, bring it back in, just like so. And we will finish off cutting this one out. That's famous last words, because it is now not focusing for me. There it is. So I cut out this surround. So we just got those 4 cuts to do all around the outside. I probably then just got to separate them away from them. And I'm going to show you then, hopefully, how we would go about finishing off this project. Some of the methods you could consider. Let's get cutting out. Okay, for anyone wondering why I cut it out in the way that I did, why I didn't just zip it straight through, on this side I could just feel the layers starting to release from one another. And my concern was that if I'd have continued and cut it all the way through, then we might have had a problem. As it was, there was a little bit of super glue left over and it wouldn't have caused me a problem. But I thought we may have a little bit of problem where the super glue releases because I'd already released it from the one side in all four corners, and then all of a sudden it's sliding all over the place and you've got yourself a bit of a problem. Now then, as you can see, we've got 3, and what I would normally do with these, I would normally sort of put them on the belt sander, that sort of thing, and tidy them up a little bit. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to go across to the workbench and just show you a little idea that you can consider. And I'm hoping, in the meantime, Thomas Woodcarver might come back. But basically, you've got 3 little coasters, so we can then sell those in the workshop, cat-themed coasters. And it's just a simple little product then, using that line art. So let's have a little look. Let's move across the workbench. And I'm also the other thing I'm going to do is just a little bit of carving for you all to see. So bear with me just while we move this across. I'm going to check the comments. I use the scroll is it whirligigs? Whirligigs? Is that right? Am I saying that correctly? I hope so. Yeah, I've seen a few of those. Since I never use anything else, I don't really have much of an opinion. I appreciate it. Thanks for the info to find your channel at the Carver. I'm enjoying your videos. Yeah, as well, Michael and Jaime or anybody else, if you haven't checked it out already, have a look on the Carver's channel. Great to see some of the videos that are going up. I've done some fretwork and a puzzle. Yeah, all of those, all great projects, great ideas. But I would recommend as well, if you get a chance to have a go, you know, things like line art, it can add an extra dimension, something extra to what you're doing. Right, let's just check that is all okay, and still, yeah, we're still on there, that's all okay. Whirligigs, do you have an example I can see? Yeah, they're brilliant. I've seen a few, I know Michael sent me, I'm thinking it was, yeah, you sent me some of the ones that you've made. There's some fantastic work that you've done. And they're really nice items, great fun items. And I would imagine that they're really popular. And I've seen one as well on recently, another one on one of the different pages. And yeah, great stuff, the different ones that can be done. Right, so we have got some Starbond super glue. Let's focus the camera again. Is that zoomed in all the way? There we go. So we've got it zoomed in now, and there we are. We're focused on it. Right, so what can we do? Well, here's the history with myself and Starbond super glue. They contacted me about a year ago. I'll just move the camera. Apologies for that. It's just so I can read the comments as I'm doing what I'm doing. Did I miss something? I will use it for cutting out some designs. I drew up the carve in this next week. So, brilliant. Right, yeah. So, yes, Starbond Superglue, they sent me, last year, they said, would I be interested in trying out what they've got to offer, their products? And I said, all right, we'll have a look, see if it's any good. If it's no good, then I wouldn't recommend it. But, in fairness to them, we tried it out. And what they had to offer, yeah, I thought was pretty good, actually. I was happy with their super glues. And they also sent this stuff. Black Starbond super glue. Now, this really surprised me, because when I first saw it, I thought, what on earth? What am I going to use black super glue for? And over the last year, the answer to that is loads and loads of different things. So I was surprised, you know, I've just been surprised at how much I've actually used it. So in this example, what I'm going to do, I'm going to fill up the detail. So let's just put of the cats. Right, so, and it's the messy job, and really I need Thomas the Woodcarver, I'm hoping, is going to be back. So I'm hoping he's going to be able to do some carving. It's going to be a bit of a messy process. But what I do, I put it on a piece of paper and I fill up the detail that I want to get. Use that accelerant, use that super glue, and fill up the bits of detail using the Starbond super glue. Go at it sort of quietly. Don't go mad with it. I mean, at different times I put on a lot, and then you've got a bit of a you can have a little bit of a mess on your hands with it. So what I'm doing is where I'm using the Starbond super glue and the I'll just check that I haven't moved that camera again. Yeah, that should be okay. You should be able to see that okay. Tell me if you can't see it properly and I'll adjust. But what I'm doing is to use it, the line art scroll salt work and the Starbond super glue, use it together and just fill in the little bits of detail. So all you do, you fill the detail in. The reason I got this piece of paper underneath is if you don't, you can make a right mess because it just flows everywhere. This as well came about because I use, I've tried in the past using, what's it called, resin. That's what I've tried in the past. Oh, and I really didn't get on with resin at all. It was just a messy process that for me just didn't work out. So when I tried this, for me, it's a lot quicker and it's a lot easier. It just suits me better, basically. And so, for instance, on this design, we're just going to fill in just a little bit of extra character in the design. There we are, just like so. Just those whiskers and the face. Just like so. And then afterwards, all you do is on your belt sander, just sand it off. When you do sand it off on the belt sander, I always find it's best to have the accelerant with you, because as you sort of sand it off on the inside, then as you can see, I'm continually sort of curing it. Terrible, probably, in terms of the method. Probably completely incorrect. And if somebody's watching from Starbond, they'd probably be horrified seeing me using it like that. But I find it quite effective, just filling in those little bits of detail. Right, so just a little bit more in there and there. And so it's a method that you can consider high definition scroll sawing, we'll call it. There we are. As I said, similar to using things like resin, but you've got that bonus that it doesn't take anywhere near as long for it to dry out. And normally I would do this on the belt sander. Just sanding the face off. We'll see if we can do it just hand sanding it. If not, we'll have to wait for Thomas the Woodcarver to take it in next door and to sand everything off. There we are. Now, the reason, as I said then, with the backing, with the paper, just makes things a lot more tidy, is basically that hasn't now flowed in all directions. And it's a lot tidier than if I'd have allowed the super glue to just go through the design. But again, when we put that on the belt sander, we can tidy that up pretty quickly. You can see it's flowed around a little bit, but nowhere near as much. Hasn't made anywhere near as much mess as it would have done if we hadn't have had that piece of paper on the back. Just like so. Right, so that all now needs to go in next door on the belt sander, just to finish it off. Onto as well, now I'm going to leave these flat. You can if you want to. You could carve around there. Reason I don't want to is because it's going to be a coaster, so we want the biggest surface area possible. So that brings us now, excuse me, onto a little bit of carving. Now what we're doing today, we were actually on television. First time we've been on in a little while, and so we've had a number of different orders that have come in, which is great. Always good to have different orders coming in and to be busy. So one of the ones that we have had go out is what we refer to as our Primavera Lovespoon. So I'm going to do a little bit of carving on that design, and then afterwards I got a few just to put initials on as well. There we are. And if I don't get a chance, I'll have to show everyone next week. What have we got on that one? Me fascina estos videos. Gracias por I will reply to that one now. Do you have the carver? I got to the carver. Some I have photos. Just to answer Jaime, muchas gracias. Es una cosa. Nosotros le gusta compartir nuestra trabajo, la forma corta, la madera y hacer las cucharas y también con la sierra. Tú tienes unas preguntas, tú pones tus preguntas en los noticias abajo. Y ahora yo preparo para cortar esta cuchara. Es una flora típica de Gales. Yo uso diferentes cuchillos para cortar la forma. Y la madera es caoba. For those of you as well then, hopefully what we're just explaining there, the advantage of having a Spanish wife is we have managed to pick up a little bit of Spanish over the years. And yeah, just explaining what I'm going to do is to cut out the form of our daffodil, of our flower inside. We were using a little bit of mahogany again. And this is, of course, our national emblem here in Wales. It's always good as well. We love to be able to share what we do. It's great to be able to share, and it's nice with the two languages. It's always brilliant to be able to share in both English and Spanish. Of course, here in Wales, we have Welsh as well, but not many places in the world where you can use Welsh. So in our house, we're bilingual, but it's English and Spanish. There we are. So just to explain as well, because I know that the focus of this is supposed to be on scroll saw in this video. So just to explain what we use, and anybody who's looking to develop their scroll sawing, anyone looking to add a different dimension to it, the scroll saw is what we use to do all of this pierce work. So the basic form, as a wood carver, it's a huge advantage that we can get a basic profile prepared using our scroll saw, and then afterwards we can hand carve everything to get a finished product. So the scroll saw is very much the workhorse of what we do, but we use it in combination with hand carving skills, and that is really the essence of our workshop, is using the two things together. Y para Jaime, en castellano, yo solo explique, nosotros usamos las dos cosas juntos. Por ejemplo, con esta cuchara corta todo cosas en dentro con la sierra, y yo venía aquí con estas cosas de mano para poner la forma más fina y cambia la forma del flora y hacer todo toda cosa es más fina en la cuchara. Now other things, you want a nice piece of wood, as always, if you can. If you can get a nice piece of wood to work in, that's always an advantage. This one here is recycled wood, and that is something we've been teasing with it a bit, but that is something that is going to be a big focus going forward on our channel. We're very much an eco business, and so we're going to share that journey then that we use. We've got a few different videos coming up in the next few months, and it is very much going to delve into more what we do as a workshop in terms of sourcing our woods and how we make ourselves sustainable, and then sustainable projects that we can share with everybody. So hopefully that will be of interest, and hopefully it will give a few ideas, that sort of thing. Right, I'm going to check the comments because I think I'm missing a few as I'm going along. Apologies for that. What do we got on there? Lista, tienes patrones que me podrías enviar. No tengo este cosas. Te cuento, yo soy nuevo en este arte. Compré una caballo de banco, pero estoy muy contento con ella. Muy bien, muy bien. No, esta es la cosa. Trabajando en la madera es una pasada, y yo disfruto. Hay muchas cosas para hacer y muchas diferentes formas para trabajar en la madera. La cosa más importante es para disfrutar. Y con las cucharas yo disfruto, pero con la sierra también yo disfruto un montón. Y para compartir con todo el mundo, sí, es muy bien para nosotros. Just explaining that there's lots of different ways, that we work with the wood. There's all sorts of different methods that you can use. And so to be able to share what we do is great. And hopefully we can give a few different ideas. It's interesting for us as well, because what I've been demonstrating earlier with that one there, with the with our cat that needs a little bit more work on, it's thanks to YouTube and having a YouTube channel. So if anybody is interested, or if anybody's considering having a go, this is why I basically bugged the carver for about a year to start a YouTube channel, because you're on YouTube, you're constantly thinking, what can I demonstrate for people? What would be interesting? And I'll put it to you all. If there's anything you're interested in, let us know, and we're always happy to make a video on it. But that's what it does for you, is it gets you thinking, well, what can I demonstrate today? What can I share on the live stream today? So I was in here yesterday then preparing that little cat coaster, and that's what it does. It keeps you fresh. It keeps you thinking of ideas, and that is an advantage then, because you're sharing what you do. You have to, in a way, challenge yourself. So I'm always thinking, what would be something different to do? And what it's actually done for our workshop, it's actually taken us back to how we originally started, where we don't just make love spoons any longer. We make all sorts of different things. So it's been a huge benefit to us, being involved on YouTube, being involved, on this platform. Because we're sharing what we do, we do push ourselves then and think of different ideas. Admittedly, I'm coming up on the channel in the next few months. There are a few projects that we started, and you just end up thinking to yourself, why on earth have I started this? But so far, every single project that we started, we managed to get finished. So that's always a good thing. Just going to check then, see if I've missed something. 2 seconds. David Philippe says okay. There we are. Have I missed any other comments there from carving is a fantastic hobby. I want to try my hand at it next winter. Yeah, carving is great fun to get into. Have you got your tools ready? Have you purchased any carving tools? Because if you have, there's or if you haven't, sorry, we were going through this recently with Jordan, and he was asking us about the different carving tools because he's just getting started with wood carving. And what I was sort of suggesting to him is starting off with about 6 or 7, excuse me, what we refer to as fingernail gouges. So gouges with a slight curve on them. And then also as well, just a little palm tool just to get started. But it's always worth, it's the same as with scroll sawing. If you're getting started and you're learning, you're not sure about it, that sort of thing, then an entry-level machine will probably do you fine. And it's the same with carving. Whilst they're not what I would say are the best or anything like that, you can get some decent entry-level gouges just to get yourself started. And then as you think you're going to be doing more, then yeah, great. Then you can basically invest more time into it and go from there. Excuse me, I'm gonna have a glass of water. There we are. So we're just, excuse me, getting the depth onto this carving down into the design, and it's a popular choice, the daffodil, a design in Spanish, once again, primavera we refer to this one as, which is Spanish for springtime, because here in Wales we know when it's getting towards the springtime, it's when the daffodils come out. Oh dear me. Oh, it's that mahogany dust has just got to my throat for a moment, so apologies for that. And so you can see, working in combination, you start off with the scroll saw to get that basic profile, to get that basic work done. You can then go on to your hand carving skills, and it just adds a completely different dimension to the entire project. So we're just getting that carved down into the wood like so. There we are. So that's all carved. We've got that basic depth. I think there's a little bit of wood just needs to come off there. I'm thinking just a little bit just to come into there. Stray bit of wood that was left over. So we just take that out of there. And it really does, if you can use those two bits of kit, the hand carving with the scroll saw in combination, it does give your work a little bit more of a unique element to it. Now then, we've got that basic profile of our daffodil. So what we can do from there is, if we choose the right gouge, we can do a few little lines, just like so, just to add a little bit of detail to each of the petals. And we will also add a little bit of definition, the inside of the trumpet of our daffodil. Now this week as well on the channel, I'm hoping to get there's another short going up, but not a Lovespoon short this week. It's going to be a scroll saw short, and yeah, it's a horse themed scroll saw short. So that'll be going up on Friday, all going well, on the channel. So something a little bit different. It's a design we've done previously, but it's just in a slightly different format using YouTube Shorts. The YouTube Shorts, they've been great for us in terms of we can share the bespoke Lovespoons that we hand carve. And also then we use it before Christmas for the Christmas decorations, that sort of thing. I'm just looking around, I can't find my mallet. But basically, if you haven't got your mallet, we're just using a little bit of extra pressure just to do those stop cuts above the hearts. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea then of how we use the scroll sawing and the wood carving together. A few more little comments on there I can see. Let's have a little look. I have tools now, but I haven't honed them yet. Yeah, well, when it comes to the honing, the sharpening, that is a big part of the process. So, for instance, we use slipstones, we use oil stones, all sorts of methods for sharpening. The best one we use is actually what's called the Tormek. That's a fantastic way of sharpening. So in the vise, what I'm now going on to do, we've got 2 Lovespoons that we've got to put some initials on. So this first one we refer to as Songs of Love, Lovespoon, and we've got a P and a H to go on there with a plus in the middle. So let's just demonstrate how we hand carve those. Generally speaking, the method I use, let's start off in the centre. And we'll do the plus first of all. The wood that we're using is a piece of oak. That's the timber that we're using for hand carving this one from. So I start off by using this spiked gouge to do a little plus sign. Just like so. So you've got the plus just in the middle. And just see that grain there, just pushing a little bit. So we just re-go over that one. And re-go over that. Excuse me. That mahogany that I used is ever so slightly peppery and it has got to my throat. So, way I do this from here, we line it up so the P is going to go to the one side of the plus. So we do a line just like so. And another thing that we were going to go through again, we mentioned it a few times before, but Thomas the Woodcarver wanted to say to everyone again about the packaging. He's not here to share any political views this week, but he was going to talk a bit about the packaging because once again we're going over. We've had a few spoons going out, and it's something that we actually spend a lot of time now. We actually make our own boxes to protect them. So as much as possible, you've got to try and protect those Lovespoons when they go out through the packaging that we use. So we got the P, just like so. So the process we're using for that, you do those stop cuts down into the woods, and then afterwards you just take a little bit of extra detail out from the back of where you've done the stop cuts. And then the H, I will just double check that it was a H that they wanted on here. Otherwise, I'm going to be carving some initials out. It is indeed, yeah, it's a P and it's a H. So again, you can see on a Lovespoon like this, you can carve that basic profile and some of that internal work using your scroll saw. So you get that outline done with the scroll saw. We use things like the band saw for getting the shape in and around the bowl, and then the belt sander afterwards. Now then, it's a little bit like so. Just watching there. I'm going to check that bit of wood actually. Is that all? Because there's a grain line just in there. Yeah, I think we're okay. We're always looking at the wood, seeing if there's any issues or anything like that. Let's just see how it comes up. Let's see how that's come up. I'm not sure if the grain has just shifted across. If it has, then I'll have to carve that back down a little bit. Yeah, that's a sign that the gouge needs a bit of sharpening. Right, we're going to have to reshape everything. What happens when it goes wrong? Here we go. This one here is just shifted on the grain. There's just a darker patch and that grain has just shifted across. I'm not happy that that is sound just in there. No, it's picked up as a splinter. Here we go, there. I can see it now. And then that's gone into there. I heard a funny noise. Okay, so now what do you do when it goes wrong? Now bear in mind, a lot of the time when I'm carving initials, you'll have about 30 people here in the workshop with a coach group. And I'll know that there's an issue, but nobody on the group will actually know it. So you've then got to carve it all back out, carve it all deeper. It's just one of those unfortunate things. It happens, it's wood, it's a natural material. And unfortunately, just where I want to put the H, there is a grain line running that obviously wasn't quite stable. So we're going to have to carve it. We've carved it back out. We've carved it at an angle. The whole thing now is going to need a little bit more depth to tidy it back up. There we go. What happens when it doesn't go to plan, see? You've got to find a solution. So what we will try to do is to just shape this down at an angle. There's just something in the wood that wasn't quite stable. And I'll tell you what I'll probably end up doing with this one is to carve the whole thing back out, and I'll probably end up carving it again. Yeah, I am. Not happy with that, so let's have a little look what we do. What happens when it goes wrong? Carve the face back off. So we've gone from a scroll sawing demonstration to demonstrating what you can do when it goes wrong. Not my intention, but there we are. Basically what happened, there's a line just down there, and it's where there's just a darker grain line which is not entirely stable. So I don't like sending anything out unless I'm 100% happy with it. And in this case, you could have got away with it. There's a few different things that I could have done to conceal it. You know, in terms of, I could have super glued it and stuff like that, but I'd rather get it right. And that wasn't right, so. Look at that, the first day Thomas the Woodcarver's not here. Perhaps it's my concentration. Perhaps I'm slacking, because Thomas the Woodcarver's not watching, see. The moment he turns his back, no, it's literally, yeah. It's literally unfortunate that there's a little flaw in the wood. And as soon as I cut, I heard it. I thought that's, and I thought it had shifted at the back. I thought it had shifted on the back of it this way, but it hadn't. It had gone the other way. And if you're not happy with something, you're better off carve it back out, refinish it, and get it right. And in terms of the demonstration, see, you'd think nobody'd even know. They'd think it was all pre-planned. Let's have a look on there. Like Mr. Comments. Hello, Aubrey. Thanks for joining us. We all have a oops from time to time. When I was making powder horns many years ago, customers told me not to be afraid to leave a file mark here or there. Absolutely. Yeah, no, it's one of those things where it brings back some memories when I can remember years ago, and you'd be doing demonstrations, the things that you would learn. You'd be doing live wood carving demonstrations for people in the workshop, and what would happen, for instance, you would have the you'd be carving something like a flower. So you'd be doing the petals of the flower, and you would have a situation where one of the petals would pop out. Now the only one who'd know at that stage, it's the same, I could have covered that up and nobody watching would have realised what had actually happened. But I knew it had happened, and because we're all carvers, I'd rather share it with everybody. Look at that! Oh, that is infuriating. That now has gone on the other side. Oh, that's a beauty. It's going to be a case of 3rd time's a charm. There we go. Oh, the wood. Here we are. This is the wood testing patience now. I'm going to run out of wood soon. It's gone on the back edge. It's gone on the front edge. What's the hat trick going to be? Right, so first thing, don't use that gouge. That obviously needs a sharpen. Not happy with that then. So abandon that gouge. That's the first thing. Don't use the same one. It's had 2 strikes. It's not going to be 3 strikes, you're out. You start looking now, see what the possible issues could be. There we go. Yeah, I would pop the petal of a flower, you pop the centre out, and I learnt little tricks. For instance, what you would find is because you were looking down, everybody be looking down as you're carving. But I learnt a little trick that if you look up, everybody tends to look up at you, and that's when you'd flick the petal away so nobody noticed. So if you made a mistake, that was one of the tricks that I learnt to cover up your mistakes. But today, it's one of those, it's Monday, see? It's Monday, it's all happening. All happening, yeah. 2 mistakes on the same love spoon. That rarely happens. And now I've said it, it'll probably be a 3rd to follow. I'm suspecting that possibly possibly a drier piece of oak as well. Something with a slight issue with the seasoning, or just where the heart has been marked out, just a difficult piece of grain. These things happen. And all I will do is, when we do finally get the initials on there, we'll re-shellac it, and it will conceal. Well, basically, you won't even know that it happened. What I'm noticing, there's a line down here, and whether there's a slight, you get this, you can get a piece of wood that has a complete void in it. You know, it's just a natural thing. You've got to remember with wood, we're all working in wood, and when you're working in wood, you know, things like this happen. It's a natural material. I always say it's as individual as people, and we've all got our own little flaws. We've all got, I can't carve a H on a love spoon at the moment, but we've all got different quirks. We've all got different things about us, and wood is no different. And so this particular piece is proving slightly challenging. And this is what happens as well. You'll have a love spoon, we'll carve a love spoon, the most elaborate love spoon. And everything will go to plan and it all works fine, and then you'll go and carve something relatively simple. And it'll take you ages to get it done because things don't go to plan. I'm sure there's a life lesson in amongst it. I can't think of it at the moment, but I'm sure there is. Okay, so let's try a different gouge on it now. And the other thing I'm going to try, we're going to try and get that angle, get it angled as far across as we can. And I'll concentrate on this one first of all. Yeah, you can see it wants to splinter. It wants to come up with splinters all the time. There's another splinter coming up. This is a test of patience now. So what I'm just doing, I'm just going to carve that back the other way. Try and stop that splinter. It still wants to come up. This is turning into my most challenging wood carving for a while. The letter H. Just like so. I've gone quiet because this is a highly concentrated job now. Just shows you the most simple of jobs can turn into the biggest of challenges for no apparent reason other than it's a little bit of a naughty piece of wood. But I got to be careful what I say because it'll be listening. Right. So we've now got enough there. Yeah, we've got enough there. And here's another little tip, if you can stick to it. Now that we've got enough there, I'm just looking, there is a little ridge there still. Another little idea, another little tip. And that is, if you do get something working, don't fiddle with it too much because it wants to be naughty for the carving. So basically, don't try and sort of fiddle around with it too much. Leave it as much as you can. And if I can leave it at that, I know I'm looking now though because I can see there's a naughty line there. I'll be watching this back in years to come, thinking, "Oh yeah, I remember carving that. That was a nightmare." Because we've done all sorts of demonstrations. We've demonstrated carving all sorts of different things, and this now is turning into just a simple little letter. Is now starting to become one of the most demanding carvings we've done. A simple H. And I blamed everything, haven't I? I blamed the tools, I blamed the wood. When the truth is, it's the wood carver. Right. Now we've got that out of there, that's fine. Now the P, up until now, famous last words, but carving the P on there has been causing us less problems than carving the H. So famous last words, this is probably, this will probably be where it goes wrong again. So you can see the method we're using, we do that stop cut down into the wood. As the carver was beautifully explaining in his last word, it does as it says. It literally stops when you do your next cut, it stops it. So you did a beautiful job of explaining something that I never understood, is why it's called a stop cut, because it stops your next cut. Right, so we got that just like so. And then we're gonna just put that in like so. Try and get that gouge angled across. And I think we're going to get there. I'm going to have to get a bit more depth and a bit more shape on it though, because we've got to try and match where we've had problems with doing that H. We've got to try and match the P to it. There we are, right. What happens when it goes wrong, indeed. So, I've actually got some shellac on the bench. I'm just going to go over that a little bit more, sanding it. I think to match it up, we need to take a little bit off the back edge of that stop cut now. Otherwise, it looks a bit strange. The one has got the edge shaped and the other wouldn't have the edge shaped. So if we just do that, just like so, just sand over it all. There is something going on in that wood. But it's a case of just get the job done, get it shellacked, and don't mess about with it too much now, because it's just going to start to keep causing trouble. Right, what have I done with my brush? I didn't drop it on the floor, no, it's just by here. So I've got a bit of shellac, because I want to see straight away how that comes back up. Let's have a little look. Okay, that's coming up okay. So by the time you've finished, nobody's going to even know. They won't even realise, nobody'd even realise that that particular spoon caused the wood carver a slight headache, shall we put it. So there we are. But I'm happier with it now because that's stable. It is stable in and around there. But there is something going on in that bit of wood there. Probably just a little natural void in the wood. But another 2 coats of shellac and we won't have to worry about it. Right, finish off. Let's try and do a better demonstration. That's what we did. That's just to show you, see. It's all pre-planned. It's all pre-planned. Just showing you what happens when it goes wrong. Well, have I missed any comments there? Let's have a little look. We got naughty or naughty. It is folk art and it is supposed to tell a story. Oh, it's got a story in it all right now. I may buy it back off them. And sometimes we pour on some lighter fluid and sacrifice to the carving, to the god. Yeah, I mean that's, you know, that's life, isn't it? That's the reality of being a wood carver. If it was all straightforward, then everybody'd be doing it, wouldn't they? We'd have a lot more competition. K and M to go on this one without a plus in the middle. Right, so the first thing, my natural instinct is to go back and use this gouge. Not a chance after the way it has carved that first one. So we've got a K and we've got an M. So we'll start off by marking out the K. Yeah, no, basically, when it comes to that side of it, this is where a lot of it comes down to temperament. And years ago, I remember we used to have in tour guides, that sort of thing. And the one chap, very, very proud, Di Phillips, very proud Welshman. And Di explained to me he'd had a go at carving a Lovespoon once. And I said, oh, great, this is interesting. Yes, he said, I got halfway through. And he said I was going really, really well at it. Everything was going great. And then something went wrong. And he threw the Lovespoon across the room and stamped on it and broke it. And that's the thing, isn't it? Is that a lot of it comes down to, it's a temperament thing as well. It's kind of like I always enjoyed sports. But the one sport that I could never cope with was golf. I found it the most infuriating. And so I just didn't have the patience for it. And this is what you find then is we all have patience and tolerances for different things. And so when you get a problem like that, that's when you find out whether you're going to be able to be a wood carver, scroll sawer, whatever your interest is. That's when you find out whether you can handle it, is when things go wrong. Because it's going to go wrong at some stage. And if you can handle it, great. And if you can't, then you just got to find something that you can cope with. And again, you know, when we're doing these demonstrations, we've been very fortunate in terms of not many things have gone wrong during our live demonstrations and things like that. But it's good when they do go wrong to show everybody this is what happens, this is how we deal with it. But also to show everyone that, you know, it happens to us all. The next time you have something happen like that, you can remember back that you've seen it happen to us live as well. So we're just trying to work out where that M will be positioned, just like so. And I will double check that it is an M. Yeah, it is an M that they've asked for. So the way I do my M, we do the one side. We then follow it up by doing the other side, and then we'll join it in the middle. And that's where it very much shows you don't anticipate anything when it comes to working in wood. I was not expecting that today. I learnt that though at a quite a young age in the workshop. As a youngster coming in here, I remember very confidently explaining to Dad, with the one spoon, I said, I'll carve this in 20 minutes. And he said, all right, go on then. And so I started carving, and 40 minutes later, I was still cutting lead shot out of the Lovespoon. Because unfortunately, somebody obviously been out shooting, and they'd shot my Lovespoon. The piece of wood had gone into the spoon, and a Lovespoon that should have taken 20 minutes took a few hours because I was confronted with somebody's missed aimed shot. Excuse me. And then when you look then at these two Lovespoons then, you know, on face value, this is a larger spoon and a more expensive spoon, but we've ended up spending more time working on the other one. Thomas Woodcarver's just walked in. There we are.
Good afternoon.
Well, it was all going well. It was all going very nicely. And then this happened. There we are. I ended up having to carve the whole thing out and recarving it. There was some sort of something happening in and around the H. We sorted it now, but it was good because everybody can see what happens when it goes wrong. Could I ask a favour of you to finish this demonstration? Could you put that on the belt sander and just sand it all flat? Take the accelerant, and if the super glue starts to run, spray it with the accelerant. It stops it.
Okay.
So if you can sand those down for me, that'd be fantastic. Well, it was because we were on the telly, see? So here we go. So we're just finishing off. Right, so we got the K and the M. I've gone a bit more slowly on those than I normally would, because when your luck's not in...
Are we still live or not?
We are still live. Yeah, if you could get that one done for me, that'd be great. So instead of using shellac this time, we use a contrast finish. So we're going to use a little bit of oil. So just a little bit of oil into those KM initials. And then we got our cloth, and then we just literally rub that off with the cloth, just like so.
You want that sanded down?
Yes, please. Yeah, and I can shellac that one then to show everybody.
And I spray this, you said,
if the super glue starts running, just give it a squirt with that just to stop it, because that's something that you find happens. There we are. So that Lovespoon is now ready for its new home, I think down in Devon, down to the south of England. Right, so whilst Thomas Woodcarver's doing that one for me, just so you can see that other one finished off, I'll do a little bit of carving on this one here. There we are. There we are. So you've got those initials there, just like so. And yeah, we're just going to work on the hearts here. And again, start off with the stop cuts down into the woods. It's just as well because you can see then how the other item, how it finishes off, how it comes up, because it is using that black super glue is quite effective. It's amazing that it does bring it up quite nicely. Have I missed a comment as well? T-8 days to sink. Exactly, yeah, absolutely. When I was learning the ironwork trade, I had a boss that told me that we have to become smarter than the material we're working with. Do not let the steel kick my butt. Yeah, well, I would say that, I mean, one thing we learn working with wood, you never win an argument with it. You very much got to try to work with it. And I certainly never feel like I've won a battle of wits with a piece of wood. Sorted. That's fantastic. Right, so you can see that's how we would progress with that, is doing those stop cuts and then using them as a barrier.
I'm going to get the shellac, alright?
I got the shellac.
You got it?
All prepared, see?
A brush, I don't know.
Got a brush, got the shellac. Right, so you can see we've sanded all of that nice and smooth now, and all we're going to do, a little bit of shellac sanding sealer onto the cat. Did you do the edges as well?
No.
No, I'll just do the faces then. There we go. And that is how we then finish off that scroll saw project. So you can just see that using that super glue, it gives you that contrast in the colour, and it brings out the face of our cat. I'll do the back as well. And then, as I said, these here will end up, all going well, these will end up as coasters. And that's the base, just like so. A little bit has just gone into the gap there, so we just stop that where it's running. There we go. And that is a simple scroll saw using that line art technique. I clamp it in the vise so it's not touching anything with the shellac.
Don't turn it the other way around, so you can...
Oh yeah, we turn it around. Good point. There you go. So that is then, yeah, simple little cat design using that Starbond black super glue just to add some definition to the face, and then the line art just cutting out those lines in between, and perfect as a little gift of a coaster. What's your thoughts? Any thoughts on Thomas Woodcarver?
Yes, not bad.
There we are. You nearly said it's nice. That would have been far too much praise. You should have seen the mess that I made of that one, the spoon. You would have been well impressed. There we are. Thank you all again. Thank you all again for joining us. Any questions or anything, remember, get them into us. As always, we really appreciate the support. We'll be back on Wednesday with our regular video upload and the Friday short, and all going well. We'll be back again on Monday. And Thomas Woodcarver, yeah, you probably be around as well, a little bit more, sharing his political views.
I hope so.
Oh, one question there before we finish off. Michael has asked how we use the beeswax. Okay, right, we'll answer that one for you, Michael, just before we go, because this is one that gets asked regularly, because I'm always saying on the videos, it's a method we use, the beeswax mixed with linseed oil.
Is it beeswax there?
Right, it sounds really technical. It sounds like it sounds like, I know that at different times the carver has tried to mix things up to try and find the exact blend that we use. Okay, there's our linseed oil. There's our linseed oil. Dip the brush in the linseed oil. There's the beeswax, just like so, from my brother Math's Bees. Dip it in, get that mixed up. The reason we do it, very simple. We want to put a bit of wax on there. But the problem is, if we put wax on there, all the detail, it gets clogged up and it causes a problem. So how we avoid doing that is to mix it with the oil. So it just makes the beeswax, it just mixes the two things together, and it makes it easier.
Yeah, the beeswax is okay on a flat surface.
It's great. It's brilliant. If you've got a table or something like that, then the beeswax is fantastic. So literally, dip your brush in the linseed oil, then rub it onto the beeswax, and then just apply it to the wood. Because it's just an extra finish on top of the shellac sanding sealer.
Always, notice with the grain.
We're going with the grain.
You're rubbing with the grain.
That's right. So you're rubbing that beeswax linseed oil combo. You're going with the grain.
Never across the grain.
Absolutely.
Because there could be a little bit of grit or something in
on the cloth, and then you get a scratch. And it's so frustrating. I noticed on one of the videos I just filmed, there must have been, we were using the router on like a wooden frame, and there must have been a tiny, either the edge of the screw that was holding it down, or just a little splinter, and it was putting a line that you then have to take back out. But there we are, simple methods. Give it a go. Thank you all again. Any Hoyle there to Aubrey too. It's St David's Day. It'll be the St David's Day live stream next week.
Oh, next Monday, St David's Day, is it?
Tuesday.
Oh, of course.
So it'll be Monday. We'll do a live stream ready for St David's. Any comments from Thomas Woodcarver before we go?
Oh, no, I just say thanks for watching. Hope to see you next week.
Thank you all.